What's good, fam? Welcome to Subs Over Dubs podcast anime review. In this episode, so today we're going to be talking about One Piece live action Netflix special. My name is Reese with AD and special guest coming back on the scene, Young Angel's Young Lion, Rebel himself.
Yo.
But today we're going to be talking about episode 1. You kind of already know how I personally feel about One Piece in general, but I have some positive things to say about the show, but obviously some negatives, and we're gonna be a little bit of I was gonna say light and darkness, but that was kind of on the line right there. But some pros and cons. We got the advocate in the middle over here.
Yes, sir.
Probably the most critical on the end.
Anti-advocate.
And then I'm somewhere in the middle. I would be leaning a little bit more to the critical side myself. But without further ado, let's just start off. You've seen the whole series, right?
Yes, sir.
I've only watched episode 1. You like, what, 3 episodes in?
I've seen the first 2.
First 2, okay. So today we're just talking about the first episode. So let's talk first impressions, right? I'll start off. Coming from the trailer to the show, it's not bad, right? I'll start off by saying this, and I said this in the previous podcast. Even though I per se don't like One Piece, like everyone, I don't hold it to that standard of Holy Grail. I do want it to be successful for the simple fact that it's going to open up the door for more animes to get live actions. Not Cowboy Bebop, though. They fucked that up. But just in general, more opportunities for more shows, and hopefully they can see how successful it can be and what to do, what not to do. Because One Piece is very, from what I've seen in episode 1, it is very follows one-to-one translation from anime to live action. And while I thought that'd be good, in my opinion, some things about that make it a negative, and I'll get into that later. But overall, so far, if I had to give it like a score out of 10, 5 being average, without being like a true hater, I'd probably say about a 6, above average. It's not bad.
That's respectable. I mean, coming from you, knowing who you are, and knowing your almost disdain for One Piece, the anime, I'll take that.
We'll go into the positive and negatives in a little bit, but that's kind of my recap, my grading, quick summary of episode 1. I'll let AD. You can let us know how you feel. You can. You don't got to go into crazy detail.
Bro. Why are we assuming that I'm about to be bad on it? Like,
you're gonna be. You'll be the most critical. I'll say that.
Not really. I think you are actually.
All right, let's talk about it.
I give it like a solid 8, in my opinion.
That's
I like it better than the anime. Like,
that's actually something I did not expect him to say, which is wild. Because I know when we go to conventions, I know he's not. When it comes to the anime, he's not a fan. So I'm actually surprised at that answer.
And even though I am surprised at his answer, I am not surprised of why he said that, because. And I guess we can kind of segue into this. So I was talking to Young Rebel over here about, actually, before I even say that, go ahead. What's your overall, we didn't know you're going to give it a high mark.
I was actually going to agree with him. I think 8 is a fair assessment. I think, obviously, there are some things that I wanted to see in there. There's some things, to your point, if you do something 1 for 1, might not be the best. However, how it was presented, how fun it was, how it was like, the characters that, at least for me, I grew up in, it was nice to see them on the, not big screen, but the Netflix screen. So it's one of those things that was really fun to watch. And if you don't pay too much attention, I guess you could say, like, if you're not nitpicking, if you're just like, hey, let me just watch it, like, with no
expectations,
preconceived notions, it's gonna be a fun show. It's being someone who's watched the whole thing, I really enjoyed it because it was something that I could watch, and even my wife was like, was this different from the anime, or was that, or did this really happen? And it even got her brain going, like, well, now I want to compare it, so now I want to watch the anime, which is something that I think is good for live actions, because, and I mean, even if he doesn't like it, just in general, when you watch live actions, it's cool because it kind of makes you want to watch the anime, because people want to naturally compare.
Yeah,
like,
you're gonna
like
get
there's a Yu Yu Hakusho live action coming out, and even though it might be terrible, I want to watch it.
See that?
Yeah, it's
I
coming
see
out.
a trailer for it now.
Yeah, it's supposed to be coming out real soon.
Trailer, but I seen like that little picture.
Yeah, so now I'm like,
you haven't even watched that show, so surprised you even knew.
But I did watch Samurai Champloo.
hey, but he's doing his homework. He knew.
Did you watch
I
Tokyo?
ain't gonna lie. I look you dead in your face. I forgot. Should text me, but we'll
Can't
talk
trust
about
me.
it. We'll talk about it. You can't trust me.
But yeah, I agree with you, an 8 out of 10. Probably for different reasons, but that's still a good
Okay,
number.
we're gonna go ahead and segue straight into the reason. So, based on like what AD said and kind of his overall statement, summary of episode 1 and how he kind of sees the series so far, and we talked about this off camera a little bit. I think the fact that since it is a live action, the way they're gonna pace it, because like people who watch live action, they're really not gonna stick around for. If it's boring on live action, I think it's really gonna kill your want to watch, especially like if you don't have time invested in all those episodes. Like it's not gonna keep you going. This is first episode, so if it's not like to the point, interesting type of thing, it's not gonna be as good in my opinion. But I think that's the beauty, and that's why he might like the. And I agree with him. It gets those positive marks in my.
Well,
in my
what
view
is
as
it?
well.
What is the difference from the anime to the live action that has you being like, okay, like this is far better than the anime? Because I mean, to me, like if it's a 1-for-1, like you say, is it just the pacing? Is it the?
No, I don't care about none of that pacing.
You would care if you.
Well,
didn't-
I'm only on
you'd
episode 2,
care,
so I don't really know what the pacing
but
really
I'm
like.
saying
But
even-
it's very similar to that. Like the 1 and 2 is very similar. It's not gonna get worse. It's probably not gonna get better. But like, there's obviously a distinction going into first episode. What is it that kind of has you being like, this isn't so bad?
The fighting is way better. Like it's
I agree.
like they're not just throwing out moves. Like they're just not doing like they're doing dodges and everything. Like now, like they're actually fighting. They're throwing some good hands in there. Like
I
Zoro,
will say the
Zoro's going
choreography-
crazy.
Yeah, the choreography.
Yeah. And it's not just like
I
oh,
already know what he's
gum
thinking.
gum. He only said it like once or twice in
Yeah.
the thing. Like
Man,
actually just throwing
listen.
them out.
You're going off that one thing, and I know
It's
because
not-
we
it's
talked
not-
about it
it's
on the
not-
side.
It's not even that. I'm gonna bring out something else in a second. We're gonna get to that. I would say just to kind of go to what you were saying is, you don't care about the pacing, but if it had the pacing from the anime, you'd care. You haven't seen it necessarily, and it's a good thing. This is a positive. You might not see it, and you're disregarding it because it doesn't matter.
Have
Because
you
it
watched
doesn't.
the anime before?
Yeah, he watched the anime.
Yeah, I'm
So he knows what.
But
he knows what
he-
a One Piece pacing is, which I agree is not the
But
best.
but he said he doesn't care. But like if it was like that, it would change how
yeah,
he viewed
with
the
8
show.
episodes, yeah, that's understandable.
You know what I'm saying?
But I think to his point, like when you're talking about the fight scenes, if you look in the anime, because they have budgets and they have things like that, you see Zoro in the anime maybe throw out 1 move, 2 moves, and the fight's
they're just
over.
doing one
And here
move,
they're
yeah.
choreographing 2, 3, 4 minute fights, and you're getting to see that like, oh man, like they're throwing hands. So I can see the action, and that is filling a lot of that time that would be used for dead time is the fighting. You even have Nami, who in the anime never fights hardly ever, and you see her using her bow staff. You see her. The fights are really choreographed well, and I think that's a plus for that and for the live action.
I'll be a negative on the choreography a little bit.
I told you.
Choreography a little bit.
Yeah, he was really right about it.
Listen, for some reason he flipped. He wants to be on one. He wants to get the One Piece stuff today apparently. But this is what I'll say. You're right. I do appreciate the fact he's not spamming his attacks and saying them out loud. But also, there's times in fights. All right, one is the maturity in the fights. Like on one scene, you have I don't remember the pirate lady's name. The first one that we meet, she's on her boat.
Alvida.
Vita. You see her smashing people with her club or whatever. It's off screen. You don't see it. All right, cool. But then we get to Zoro fighting, and he's literally seeing people's bodies slashed in half. So it's like, why are we like censoring some parts of the show
Well, you have to
or
understand
violence?
her club, like when she hit the dude, like if they were to show him like being mangled, like it's very
Yeah,
like
get it. It'd be graphic.
It's way more graphic, yeah. And I think for a E for everyone
Is it
type
an E
of
for
like,
is it an E for?
it's I think so. I mean, I feel like
Well,
One
I
Piece
mean,
is that kind of. But I mean,
The show is-
a slash
His body,
is
you
different
could see
than.
his body in half.
I think it was probably just easier to do also.
Yeah, it's probably
It would-
cheaper. It's probably
okay,
cheaper too.
okay,
Yeah, 'cause when you think
you're
about how
no, that's
the devil
a
fruit
valid
is.
point, and that's what I'm saying is like you have these inconsistencies. So for those reasons, we can understand. But for me, it's just like okay, he could have done it another way. I mean, I don't know. I just don't appreciate the way it was done personally.
Think about it this way. How is that different from when you have an anime where, let's take you have an anime like Bleach, right? They use up their whole budget for that week on a certain scene or a fight scene. The other scenes, you're going to see there's going to be a visible difference in the budget because that had to go towards this fight scene or this Bankai or whatever the hell it is.
I would say that
how is that different?
It's different because in animation, it's a lot more money into it because you have to literally draw everything versus.
But you're talking about a show that they built those actual ships. They built Going Man. It was not a prop. It was something that they spent. So it's the same thing. It's a budget. It was an $80 million budget.
Let me cook real quick. I'm gonna tell you why.
I don't know if you're
So
gonna
like,
cook.
all right. So let's say you can't show her bludgeoning the dude's head in. There's no blood. It could have been like little.
It was on the floor.
It didn't hit the same though. For me personally, that's just being okay. We can move on from this. We can, have our stances. Like that's.
I just think that it goes back to that point where, and I get it. If you don't like One Piece, you're gonna nitpick the anime.
It's not
you're
even
gonna
like
nitpick
that.
the manga. You're gonna nitpick the
those
live
are just
action, which is fine. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, if you want to talk comparatively, it's the same as an anime budget. You're talking about Seven Deadly Sins in the first season. They use all their budget where what's his name? Meliodas catches the rod. And then this guy's like. Then the rest of the episode is terrible. Like the drawing is awful, and it's like as a anime watcher, we have to understand those things, and those have to be part of the. Oh well, realistically, there's a budget.
I can't do that.
$80 million only goes so far, bro.
The reason why I can't agree with that is because this is an IRL. This is no longer an anime.
I know, but it's still the same thing. We have a budget.
It's
right?
not though. It's IRL. You could, like I said.
But does budgets? When you talk about a movie, does budgets not? Does budgets not matter?
Listen, budgets matter, but they got a huge budget. But here's the point: the thing I'm asking for them to do is not a costly thing. Having the blood like hit her face after, if you're that close and you bludgeon someone, you're gonna get blood on you, bro.
I could have sworn there was blood splatter, but maybe.
Don't remember.
It's been a while since I watched the first
I'm
episode.
gonna rewatch it because I was almost certain that there was blood.
There was
and that's
blood
why
on
I
the
was
ship.
like,
There's blood on the ship, 100% because they dragged the body. Yes, but I don't. There was a little bit of blood on whatever kind of mace, whatever she had, because she gave it to. Was it Toby? I forgot. Oh, wow, it's not Toby. It's Kobe. I looked at AD when I said this kind of sucks.
Yo.
When Kobe had to clean it, but I'm just saying on her. I'm just a little touch. I would appreciate it. All right, let's move on. I'll give you another one.
All right,
we talked about choreography. This is my problem. Like they're gonna have a. I need to see how they're gonna handle like the scaling and power because okay, Luffy's decently strong, right? At this point, he's not he's not fighting no one strong. I have an issue, and then they're fighting in the courtyard. Random Marines are running up on him and just hugging him and holding him.
Yeah, but we're talking about 30, 40
We're talking
of
about
them.
the king of the pirates.
Yeah, but that doesn't. The whole point of the beginning of this series is not to start power scaling. You have to understand that when he's on a 1v1, he's fighting, right? And you got to think about it. Luffy as a person is not a serious guy. Like, who's to say that he was doing that just for fun? He ended up keep beating all their asses anyways and winning, and then beating what's his name? Axe-Hand Morgan.
I don't know.
I mean, they ended up beating the big bad anyway. So it's like those are the little things that I'm talking about.
He
that
needed
are
Zoro to
nitpicking.
do that. But I mean, it's not even until you get to the axe guy. I just don't like when we have random mobs holding them back and there's 3 of them, but it shouldn't be where he's like this and kicking his feet. He should be able to okay, grab me, throw him down. Another one comes and he just handles it the whole time. That was just the other thing that I seen. I was just like,
I think you'll.
But is he really that strong?
Yes.
He's not
And I
super
think this
strong, but he's stronger than the average person. That's my point.
I think this is the thing, though. It's difficult for me to disagree with you because you start seeing the power scaling slowly but surely as the series goes on up into the finale. So the first episode, if I was to take everything from 2 to 8 away, I can understand where you're coming from. But as the series progresses, you start seeing that power scaling, and you see it big time in the last fight. You can kind of see the do's and don'ts of what Luffy can and can't do. So I can
evens
agree.
out. Okay.
It starts to even out as you're going in. You start seeing
that's the only thing I didn't
Zoro's
like.
weaknesses, what he can and can't do. So based off the first episode, I can understand what you're talking about.
That's the only thing I didn't
encourage you to
like.
continue watching.
Of
That's,
course.
you know,
We're gonna. I mean, this is anime.
The only thing I ain't like about the first episode is when his sheath bended.
we talked about
Yeah,
that.
we talked about-
and I understand it. And I told him, I was like, it sucks because it really is something simple that could have been fixed. But if you're going over, what we saw on the screen is only a portion of what they filmed.
Of course.
So I can see how it easily got glanced over. However, that was one thing that I was like,
Right?
doesn't help its case for something that already has a lot of eyes on it and a lot of people are already skeptical
'cause
in the beginning.
You got high expectations, and then so
Exactly,
these
yeah.
are small things that can be addressed in this quality control. Like I said, the captain's son walking up on Zoro when he's tied up in Pumas. Like we couldn't get no generic all white shoes that wasn't branded. Come on, man, we can go to Walmart real quick and get that.
Yeah, that's facts.
And
Yeah.
it's just a small, like, again, like, that's not, for me personally, taking it down to, like, because that's not making a 6, but those are small, like, nitpick things. I'm like, these are easy misses, in my opinion, that should have been taken. The sword is a little bit less because it is, I would say it's somewhat easy because I already seen someone on TikTok,
Yeah.
like, fix it, like, because they're so aggravated.
yeah, so
so it
easy.
can be done, and they have the budget, they have great people
Yeah,
that
just
work
something
at
that was
Netflix.
glossed over.
So it's just something that, you know, they're like probably looking at like, oh, we don't want to spend time. Small. It's for a second of the show. Is it worth investing? Let's say 3 hours. Probably not.
yeah.
But for me, it would just make things more appealing, in my opinion. But otherwise, again, and let's talk about Luffy being strong again, because you make a point, right? When they pull the safe out of the floor, right?
Yeah.
He's Rubber Band Man. He struggled. Whatever. They got get it out. Soon as Zoro walks up, he fucking one man puts it over his shoulder. Like, is he that much stronger than Luffy?
When it comes from a physicality sense, yes. So if you watch the anime, you
Man,
see this
carried a
man,
building,
like,
bruh.
Yo, he's got like tons of
building.
weight, and
I know he can get. I seen that, but I'm just saying for the safe. You tell me Luffy's not strong enough to carry the safe like Zoro did?
Well, you have to
I don't think
understand.
rubber is meant to be strong like that, bro. Like,
And this is the thing is, Luffy's power, to his point, doesn't.
Punch a tire.
But think about it. It's not supposed
that's
to.
different. That's
like,
not.
Oh, that's different.
But like, if you have rubber going like this, right, trying to lift it, it's not a power. But when he's
No,
stretching
stretch
it
it,
and
yeah.
it ricochets like a rubber band,
Yeah, like a
that's where he
slingshot.
gets his power. So like when he hit Alvida off the boat,
It was.
he was using those
So-
properties. So
friction,
it's a different kind of
So
strength.
what
you
you're
have to
telling
understand.
me is essentially we're getting to a more realistic rubber type.
Well, that's the thing is a lot of the showrunners were talking about when they were asking them about what they're gonna do with Chopper next season. He was like, one of the biggest things is we wanted to make this show as grounded and as realistic as possible while having the devil fruits, so they're like, I think that's one of the things that made it successful. It's like realistically, Luffy he can be slightly above the average man in physical strength, but what gives him his strength, right? Tenacity, power, friendship, and then his rubber abilities, right? When he stretches, he's able to like increase his punch tenfold, whatever the case may be. So in that sense, it's like, yeah, it's more grounded than the anime or even, you know, any of the other live actions. And that was kind of what they were trying to do, was make it realistic in a sense where as much as you
As
can,
real as you could be
as
in
real
the
as you
anime.
can make a show like that, you know.
That's
So
fair.
but one of the only things that didn't give it a 10 out of 10 for me was like, I get it, the anime is like a little corny, right? Like you have corny times.
Oh, man.
So like they brought that in and it kind of helped it work the live action, but some of the things I was just like,
They're overdoing it.
yeah, they overdid that. They leaned on the corniness, and I'm like,
Like,
okay, like it's One Piece, and I have to have an open mind, but there could have been more moments where it was a little bit more serious, or if they would have taken out a certain scene.
I
and
think
been
they
like,
just. I think just for me personally, with Kobe especially, they went too far. Like, I understand, like I understand his character, and I can say this a little bit about Luffy too. It's a little bit more bearable. Like, I know you're trying to bring the character's life as much as possible, but I feel like they pushed it a little. They went a little too deep into the way his aloofness or how he's kind of carefree, and Kobe's kind of like no confidence and just like, oh, I can't do this. Like it was a little bit too much, but I get it. They're trying to like bring out the character.
those characters, yeah.
But-
and that's tough because you want it to be realistic, but if you overdo it, it's like, do you stay true to the source material, or do you stray away? Because if you stray away, you see what happens. So it's
Well, there's a difference between changing character, just toning it down a little bit, and then
yeah.
there's a whole nother direction with Cowboy Bebop.
Well, let me ask you, like, we got into the actual, like, how you guys feel about the show, but how do y'all feel about the castings? Like, for Luffy,
Usopp
for
trash.
Usopp, really? I don't know, man. I thought,
His nose is not right.
why is he obsessed with his
I
nose?
don't-
Because
I
that's
care
like
about
his
that.
trademark
that is his
thing.
trademark. That is his trademark.
His trademark's that weak ass slingshot, in my opinion. His
No, the trademark is literally his physical appearance.
his physical appearance is.
If y'all can make Arlong's nose long, and
that was bad.
but it's still like they still made it longer. It's not that hard to make a longer nose. Just like It's like you've been saying all day. It's not that hard, right?
I wonder if they tried to do it and if it just looked too goofy and they were just like,
Scratch it. It
yeah,
probably
scratch
did.
it, you know?
I would say the casting is for the most part good. The only thing I see is I don't know.
Nami look a
I
little
feel
old.
like
She bad though. Shout out Emily Rudd.
I
She
feel
bad.
like in a way there was an agenda. I think you had mentioned with Luffy the way he's cast as his nationality, but like for Shanks's crew, I talked to AD about this off camera before.
A group of black
I
guys.
feel like they forcing black people everywhere, man.
There is, but you gotta understand. So they're taking source material from like, if you think of like pirates in those eras, they had a lot of islands. You had a lot of islanders, and they were.
So black people are just islanders now.
Well, you have like
wow.
islands. You have Jamaican
What
islands.
about Guam?
but you
There's a
have to
lot of
understand-
Asian people in the islands too.
What? Okay, so think about it this way: they have a lot of islands. You think black people, right? You have pirates. You think of like UK. You think of like Ireland. So that's what I liked about Garp. He had like that Irish accent that was very piratey. I feel like they made it to the best of their ability. Did they try to lean too into the like a black person every scene? Kind of, but I think for this instance it worked.
When it's a random mob character, like let's take Gold Roger, and when they pan the crowd, it's like you see was Shanks in that crowd, right?
Yeah,
You
like
see Shanks, black people. You see the other character. You see what's his name? Is this Vin Smoke? Not Vin Smoke. Jesus Christ. What's the guy's sword's name?
Sword dude.
John.
Mihawk.
Shout out to John
Yeah,
Grimion.
Mihawk.
What's our
Mihawk.
Mihawk? Yes.
Yeah.
See him in the crowd.
but when
Black people surrounded him. It's just
well,
like
they also pan over to where when he was like, "Hey, Fire King, where'd you leave all your stuff?"
Mhm.
And he was talking about the One Piece. There was a bunch of white people, like a bunch of weird looking white people, but they were white people. But I think that like
The ratio
it
is-
makes sense if you're like going through islands. You're gonna see islanders. Some islanders are black. Some of them are darker skinned. You're not gonna see pale ass white people on the islands. That's just being honest.
hey, there's a lot of Asian people on islands too.
Okay.
And I'm not
That's
even
though.
saying they should
But
be in
like,
there. I'm
but
just
when you see white people on the
Owen.
islands, yeah, but they're gonna be darker tone. They're gonna be brown. They're gonna be black. They're gonna be. You're not gonna see no like USA America.
But-
You're not gonna see a Kobe on the islands, bro. Like
But see,
that's realistic.
And this is where I have issue with. Why are we like trying to bring realism to the show in this case, but we don't do it with like the way Kobe is or some of the things we see. Like
What's
I
wrong
agree
with the way Kobe is? Because the
Ko-
way they adapted Kobe is
yes,
one for
but-
one
but
exactly.
Here's my point, because if we're gonna do the one-to-one route, keep the characters one-to-one. Right?
Okay.
Shanks didn't have a whole bunch of black crew members. If I'm not mistaken, they were almost all the same skin
Ben
tone.
Beckman is white. Yasop and Lucky Roo,
I haven't-
it could be a coin toss.
I haven't seen like
In
you
the
know,
anime, it could be a coin toss.
So
Because they don't paint like besides like Aokiji, a lot of the black people are like
Just
lighter
random.
skin. They're like you're like they could be white, they could be Mexican, they could be black. Like you really don't know because I don't think they lean into like the darker characters except for like Aokiji where he's got his curls and you're like, oh, that's obviously a black man. So those could have gone either way. But to me, I think the casting was like really good. There wasn't
I don't have a problem with the casting either.
Ben Beckman was the only one.
Who's that?
So he's Shanks like
First, vice,
yeah.
yeah.
So his vice captain, bro. In the anime, he looks dope as hell. Like he's got his gun. And this guy. Was
They
like,
didn't show him in the first episode, right? I remember there's a
don't-
bar scene.
They
but
kind of might have panned over in the flashback, but I was like, who is this fat old white guy with like grayish curl? I was just like, this isn't it. Which people, that's one of the biggest controversies, but that's not it, bro. That's not that guy. Because Ben Beckman in the anime and the manga is like the GOAT, and I was like, I don't know who this guy is, bro. But everyone else, aside from that, in my opinion, was good.
I like Luffy's. If he toned it down just a bit, it'd be like, okay, this is for
Tone
me.
down
It's
his
perfect.
what?
His like, it's just
His
all it's
Mexicanness?
cringiness. Like sometimes
Oh,
he's like,
okay.
yes. He's like, we're all pirates need to like name like.
I mean, but when you think about it, that's how you was in the anime.
So you don't want him to
But,
be
but
Luffy?
this is my point. This is what I'm saying. We're talking about we're talking about pirates. We're more likely to be more fair skinned. We're trying to be somewhat realistic. Just like in realistic, I would say in IRL, someone could be that goofy, but just tone it down to make
Well,
it more.
I feel like they did tone it down. That's the problem.
This is how I feel. I feel like when it comes to the background characters, the ships, like the NPC pirates, I feel like all that is like they made it look as if we were back in the pirate era in real life.
With Pumas,
for the most part, right? Until you get to the Straw Hats, and then that's when you start seeing the goofy, the quirky, the almost the brighter tones of the colors of the film. That's where I was like, in your point, you could keep it consistent. If it's gonna be gritty and piratey, and because in the beginning, in the opening, you have all the ships, you have the water. It looks very pirate era, and then you see all the mob when Gold Roger's about to like get executed. It all looks realistic. And you pan over to Luffy and his crew, and it's like bright colors and like very fairy tale, and you know, like
It's happy-go-lucky.
happy-go-lucky. So it's like,
theme of the,
and it's hard to balance that though, because it's like that is, you want the Straw Hats to be who they are, but you also want to build a world that's realistic. So I don't know.
I'm not. It's
That's
not.
why I said 8 out of 10 to me is a fair.
It does, and again, this is not necessarily something that kills it for me. Like the show, at the end of the day, I would say they did a good job. I mean, when you talk about other anime IRLs, there's nothing comes close. This is the best one easily that I can think of.
Yeah.
I heard Brotherhood's good, but I haven't watched it. But
Bleach was decent.
I haven't watched it either.
So is it the anime One Piece you don't like, or is it the anime fans of One Piece that you don't like?
both.
No, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Both.
How do you do?
So how far have you gotten on One Piece?
The anime?
Yeah.
Like 1016.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, if you are in the thousands, like 1,000 and up, and you don't like it, that's a fair assessment. But there are people who
1,000 episodes.
That-
Yeah, I gotta go to 1,000 just to get a fair assessment. That's crazy.
I mean, if you're a Wano and you don't like Wano, it's just like, what else can we give you?
They dragging it. That's the problem. How long? This man been fighting this man Kaido for a year.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Like this should have been over with
That's
a long time
basic.
ago.
He's fought him 4 times.
Yeah. He also fought him like what? How many times? That's crazy.
Yeah. There are some things that I agree. Like one of the things we talked about months ago was like the Odin thing, where he was in the hot bed for like 20
skipped the
episodes.
whole flashback.
And I was like, man, this kind of like, and it sucks because like I feel like if One Piece was one of those animes that you just give us 23 episodes a year, cool. Like I feel like we can get rid of the fluff, but they're still in that old formula where they're year round. And it's like at some point you might have to adapt. Like I know that there's a lot he wants to do, Oda, but like
I found out the reason why. I did some research. I honestly already kind of knew it was money, but it's obviously it's the money, but it's the time slot. They have a prime time slot for anime, so it's like, why give that up to go seasonal when we're still gonna make money? Our fans aren't
Yeah.
going anywhere. We can get by with the BS because they've been here for 1,000 episodes. So why change now?
yeah.
So and that
Would
makes sense.
Would y'all rather
Nice
rather
try.
the pacing to stay the way it is?
Hell no.
Or would y'all rather just have filler episodes? Like, yo, we're gonna give you a filler arc for like
It's filler episodes regardless. Like what are you talking about?
it's a filler arc with a bad pacing in
to
it.
answer your question, I would rather eat a whole filler episode arc because I know it's filler. I don't have to watch the filler to see a
You're like, I can skip
2-minute,
6 weeks and
2-minute points of actual showtime
Yeah.
to be like next time and hear the fucking music.
That is my only qualm about like the Gear 5 is they reused like the same 3 scenes like 4 times
Oh,
in those
when
first
he-
2
when he,
episodes.
like, leveled
When
up?
when he did his
I
Gear
haven't
5,
watched
and
it
I'm
yet.
like, bro. So I actually skipped 2 weeks of it and just kind of fast forward, that's why it's tough for me because like I like to watch animes that are already finished, like Jujutsu Kaisen. I haven't watched season 2 because I want to fast forward the stuff that's like. But when it's
It's only like 2
weekly,
episodes. You got to fast forward. Everything else is worth.
I'll get to it soon. But yeah, I mean, all in all, one thing that I think my biggest thing is like I have friends that they watch anime a little bit, but they're like, and it was like a couples thing. Like a couple of my couple friends, they're like, yo, we just watched One Piece, the live action, just to see what it was. And they got so into it, and then they started watching other animes. Like they're like, oh,
It's
you
a
know,
bridge for
we
sure.
watched One Piece, the live action was really cool. So then we started watching Jujutsu Kaisen. You know, then it's like, so even though to me it's like I don't expect the One Piece live action, if they do season 2, 3, 4, to be like peak fiction. But I do expect these live actions to kind of help people transition, and that's the whole point of it, is to get more people to watch anime, read manga. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I enjoy. And I'm
I
like,
ain't gonna go that far.
And that's why, even though like I'm critical of it, I can be. I still want it to succeed at the end of the day because it's gonna do that. It's gonna give all these other animes a chance to give live action, and I'll give them credit. Like, it's not easy to do One Piece in a live action because they've got all these different variables. Because like when we talked about when they bring Chopper in, that's a lot of money, and there's no skipping. There's no okay, we're not gonna edit the sword bending in half and stuff. That's a lot of money. It could be done because we've seen stuff like Detective Pikachu. You have
Yeah.
Ted. We know, and the raccoon from Rocket from Guardian of the Galaxy. So we know they can be brought to life. How are they going to do it, and how much they're going to invest? Like, I didn't even expect them. I was kind of surprised to see the transponder snails in the show. It was a little bit weird, but it's like I know it. Like, I ain't
I
tripping.
think
on
what
it.
they said was like,
Hockey gonna be crazy too.
yeah, they were trying not to use as much. They were trying to limit the amount of CGI. One, to make it realistic, and two, because of the
Money,
budget.
yeah.
So that's one of the things they were talking about with Chopper is like, we're gonna do like a half person in a suit, half CGI. So I'm curious to see that as well. But I'm hoping that because in a live action sense this was successful, they get a bigger budget, and
True, and
We'll
they
see.
they should. I think that they definitely should get it because I mean I don't know the numbers. I know it did well. It didn't like flounder like the Cowboy Bebop IRL
Yeah.
and the other shows. It's one of the biggest successful things. So the biggest thing I'm happy for is the fact that you had the author involved, Oda approved.
a lot
They're
of
gonna
this
do.
stuff,
They're
yeah.
gonna like he wasn't gonna sign off anything. So hopefully that gives some type of credence to any of these other anime that go into IRL. They'll let that creator have some say. That way they don't just butcher shows like they've already done by trying to change things when it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be changed.
I mean, if it was me, honestly, I would do away with the whole live action thing for animes. I think everyone's expectations for all the animes are too high. I'd rather you be like, instead of you giving me a live action of Bleach, right? Yo, just give me like a non-canon movie that we're gonna enjoy with some fight scenes. Like, I get it. I see the appeal for like live action. They see like DC and they see Marvel and they're like, well, shit, I want my characters that I love the same way. But it's just like, if you're not making a big production movie of it,
I think
chances are
But-
more often than not it's gonna flop. And it's like, I'd rather just have a movie,
But I think this gives you a path to the movie. 'Cause you still have to like. No one's done it because the ones that have done it have
Yeah.
failed. Trimming like Dragon Ball. Everyone knows that movie was absolutely terrible.
I mean, those are 8 out of 10.
I know.
So that
Like
I
it.
think this is charting the path to like, okay, we got them. We see the market. A lot of people who don't watch anime like you mentioned are into this. Let's take it to the next level, and hopefully they can get to like that Marvel status. The only thing is, not all animes are going to be able to be transferred to IRL because
Yeah.
of theme, characters, just all these different things.
Well, I truly feel like even if One Piece was worse, I think it would have done the same.
What do you mean?
Like, I think what they did, the way they created it, the way the show came out was solid. But I think even if it was terrible, I feel like it still would have gotten the same reviews. Because think about it. When you have people who hate on One Piece so much, the people who love One Piece feel like they gotta kind of overcompensate. So like, if it was trash, bro, I would still be sitting here telling you it was amazing. Like, just because it's one of those things where it's like,
Exactly why I don't like the fans.
well, it's like you don't want your favorite character and your favorite like shows to just be like, damn, that shit
So I would
ass,
get-
So it's just, I truly feel, not me personally, I grade these things very like consciously, but I know that there is a community that would have been like, no, we're still gonna spam like
Shit, that money.
we're still gonna spam it
That
up.
money wouldn't hit the same. The views probably wouldn't have been the same. Yeah, I mean, your fans do it. Like One Piece fans are probably kind of close to some of the worst fans in that aspect. As far as they're gonna back.
They're
the
not gonna
show.
admit if there's a bad episode. They're not gonna admit it's bad. Like, they're not gonna admit the pacing's bad. They're gonna, and I understand it. But for me, it's like,
They gonna be like, it's a great story.
yeah.
When does the story start?
I'm
I
saying.
mean, you gotta admit there's pockets of great moments in there.
100%.
And I think if you enjoy an anime, you will try not to see the negatives of it and focus on the stories. Like, to me,
I don't want to see him fighting nobody for 30 episodes. That's crazy.
I mean, like Dragon Ball Z, boy. Dragon Ball Z is held as one of the greatest anime.
least-
And he was fighting Frieza and doing this for like 40. It said that the Frieza fight took a historic 58 episodes, I think it was. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. It was like in the 50s.
I would say at
And
least it
30
was.
of them, he was just doing this. Give me your energy. And it's just like, but when you take the whole thing of like, but Dragon Ball Z as a whole, you're like, it's goated, right? That's where I'm like, it's kind of the same
I
thing
mean,
with
but
One
at least they know that ain't just like, oh yeah, we just wasting time here. Like, no.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
he
the one-
wanted-
Because he only fought him twice, right? He lost, and then he went to the time chamber to get, or the little water chamber to get healed,
Yeah.
and came back.
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean,
But when we look, like, how long was that birdcage up from Doflamingo? How long was that going on?
like, I think half a year. Half a year. And that was a long arc. I didn't even like it like that. I'm not gonna lie
That's
to
what
you.
I'm saying. I'm
Not
like,
gonna lie to
this
you.
man here, like,
And you know that it is imperfect. It's not a perfect anime. Are there great moments where it's like this is pretty badass? Yeah, you know. But I think because there's been so many episodes, like the greater moments outweigh the bad ones because you have animes that don't even make a season 2. So it's like, well, at least I got a Gear 5. At least I got Zoro, you know, fighting King. So it's I don't know. It's one of those things where I try to appreciate the
which
good.
I think is that a reach too, like, in my opinion.
I'll say
They be
this.
reaching.
For those reasons alone, this is what's going to propel One Piece to be. If they do it right and they keep the money and believe, it'll probably transcend the anime
That'd be cool.
because everything's going to be cut and dry to the point. I think they'll be able to take what the anime has done in a lot of these scenes and make them better. And like, think of we've seen like we get to the castle where we're at current. There's a lot of things that happen. If you bring it to IRL and like do it a certain way,
Cut a lot of that.
you can make it.
Well,
but
I think what makes it interesting is that I think the only reason cutting One Piece the way that it was successful was because like people like short form content now. Like nobody wants to go on YouTube and watch a 45-minute video. They're like, yo, give me the pockets of 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And that's kind of what One Piece does is you took, 100 episodes and condensed it down to 8. People are going to ride with that. So,
well, true.
you know,
What
nobody
they
has
do in the anime, so like, what's the
nobody
problem?
has an attention span anymore.
That's why I think ultimately though why it's gonna move on and be very successful. And I think again if they do it right, it'll be more successful than anime, and it should, in my opinion, for those reasons.
I'm just curious. I'm hopeful that AD keeps that 8 by the time he finishes that the whole series. Because if he keeps it at 8 by the end of it, I'm like, that's a W. That's a W for the community. Because at least he's honest, you know.
Well, I'm not being honest. You saying it like I'm not? I'm being
No,
very
I
honest.
it's because I know you've always been like, when it comes to One Piece, you're like,
It has its moments.
It has its
it
moments,
just
but it's
drags
not
on.
yeah. He's like, I detest anime, One Piece anime, and they're fans. So if that's what I'm saying is like, if a live action can kind of be like, okay, well I hate this, but at least this was done right, it's a win for the community, you know? Because it
has a
shows
lot
that
of
people who
Ws.
don't even like One Piece can enjoy it, then it's a W.
I appreciate it. Like I said, there's plenty of positives. The characters, they really brought the world to life. You can feel like you're in, you know, I forgot what the whole place is called, but it feels right. The ships, the attention to detail for some of the like ships and stuff, like the Going Merry looks good. Zoro looks. I think Zoro has the best cast too.
I think so too, yeah.
He just, and then if you think about it, it's not really hard to bring that character to life. You got a cold killer for the most part. It's not hard
Yeah.
to bring that to life. Nami's kind of, I know she's a thief, but like it's a little bit different. But
I ain't gonna let you slander her though, man. Emily Rudd, shout out if you watching this.
well, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how they bring, because not only Chopper's the hardest one to deal with. Then you have Brooke, should be easily done, not easily, but a lot easier. But then Frankie's gonna be the.
They're all gonna require CGI at some point. That's gonna be the tough part.
They're gonna need it for
They
Chopper.
got the octopus guy in there already.
Octopus guy.
The one that's with Arlong.
Oh,
He actually-
I don't know.
I don't know if y'all can cut this, but he actually like they took him out of that storyline, so he's not in.
Oh, that's
So that's another thing is some of the fight scenes were a little bit different, and some of the scenes were like that didn't happen, or it did, but they did it in a roundabout way. Those are some of the things where I was like, okay, but again, a 1-for-1 can get predictable, but you also don't want to stray too far away from the source material. So I think they did it pretty well in a way where it's like, well, we got to this point, but normally it's here, but they kind of went
yeah.
to it. So
I think
cool.
they've done a good job on that front, like as
Sure.
far as the storyline. And it remind me, it was Zoro. I thought Zoro was tied up in the middle of town, not in the Marine base.
No, he was tied up in the Marine base. The only difference was like when the girl brought the cakes or whatever, he was already tied up when that happened.
Okay.
So they used that as an excuse to get him tied up, and he had never met Axan Morgan before. So a lot of those little details didn't really happen, but I guess it was kind of used for like Dead Space. So they just kind of created interactions and stuff, but it was cool. I mean, it added more fluff, but some of the things like that were wrong where I was like, I don't know if I like that. So it's cool.
I think all in all, it's again I'm gonna watch the second episode
I
going
will
into
say
next
this: the
week.
One Piece live action is better than all of season 2 of Vinland Saga. So, that's a W.
That's not a tall bar to climb, man. Sadly. Those guys are eating us up in the comments, especially you. He was like, this guy doesn't know what anime is. Like,
It's all good. It's all good. Snooze Land Saga.
but we'll see, man. I think it's gonna do well. For now, it's a 6. Obviously, it's gonna change as I watch more episodes. I'm just, I'm not gonna give it a high remark in the beginning. It's gonna
Wow
prove
you?
itself. It isn't gonna wow me. It just gotta prove itself. You know what I'm saying? This guy.
It proved it for me. Like,
Hey man, you don't know if
I
things
like
can
that.
change.
That's
I
honesty
just
right
like
there.
the way they did it better. Like, pause.
But yeah, we'll see. I'm interested to see how Mihawk interacts. I've seen a little bit, obviously, in the trailers and stuff. But like, he's another like visually bringing to life. He looks good. The only one I don't like is Arlong. His nose is trash.
That's tough.
So you're allowed to talk about his nose, but I can't talk about Usopp. Okay. Okay.
I agree with you. I said they could have done it, but I was like, I think it looks good as the way. I haven't even seen the character. I'm just thinking. I'm seeing it as a trailer.
I didn't like the way that I like the actor. Like you hear through the trailers, like his voice,
Mhm.
but like I don't know. I get it. They weren't trying to use CGI, but like I don't know. I feel like the proportions were a little bit off.
Mm.
Like Arlong's supposed to be like this.
Oh,
buff,
you're talking about-
like,
yeah.
like he's just like some homeboy in long
Yeah,
shorts
and
and
it's
some
like
Pumas on his feet.
Yeah.
and
He's
a
rocking
long,
Pumas
and a
too?
long nose. Oh no!
Oh, I was about to
was
say.
just like, he was like, God no.
I'm
bro. Nah, just
listen.
kidding,
I'm
bro.
be looking for these small details too. I'm be like, man, what is
That's
this?
a
Ew.
nitpicker, bro. That's a
I can
nitpicker,
tell.
bro.
It
I ain't noticed
matters.
the
Why don't you just enjoy it, bro? Just like crack a cold one and just enjoy it without nitpicking. You'll enjoy anime
That's
better
how I
that
watch
way.
anime, man. I need
Yeah, I know,
the
man.
full
This guy got a notebook of things that go wrong.
writing it down and I'm checking it
We
twice.
I'm just glad he don't read manga, because if there was a distinction in anime and manga, this guy would be all over it. He'd be one of those. That didn't happen in the manga like that.
Yeah, because sometimes I've been told plenty of times it gets told better in the manga version. They just want to see it brought to life and they shatter their dreams by doing bullshit.
So you just
Don't
don't.
read it.
Yeah, don't read it, bro.
That's why I don't read it. I was like, I'd rather just see what I see and just
Exactly,
live with
enjoy it
one.
that way.
I live with one reality, so I don't have to deal with any of the
I
nonsense.
feel that.
But I think it's gonna be any last words on the show.
I'm good with it.
Marco or Rebel. Oh, I gotta cut it out now. What's the outro? We'll let the last words on the show be with you, One Piece lover.
Go watch the One Piece live action if you haven't. Give us your thoughts. Appreciate you guys bringing me back for this special. And that's it.
Yeah, man. So you heard the man. Let us know in the comments, man. Is it subs or is it dubs? Peace.
We out.